We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Our guest in our final segment this morning is Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall. And certainly on Facebook, as I follow a lot of the conversation kind of straying away from exactly what we're talking about, but people continue to debate the merits of masks and all of that and the mandate here in Metro Davidson County. I'm just curious. I think we heard yesterday that Metro Police issued a statement that's saying at least initially what they're going to do is if they see someone without a mask out in public when they should be wearing it, they're going to educate them. They've got these flyers printed up to give them and say, this is how we want you to do it. Then come July 3rd, they can start enforcing it through citations up to maybe a misdemeanor. Now, I don't imagine anyone is going to be taken to your jail for a violation of wearing a mask. They may have to pay a citation, but is that your understanding?
Yeah, Nick, I mean, I don't want people coming to jail, period, if quite frankly. We're trying to manage a crisis within any system, but people need to be responsible and wear the mask and do what you're being asked to do. It is ludicrous to me that we would be asking law enforcement officers that have jobs that are tough, and you're asking them to do all sorts of things anyway, to now go out and be the masked police. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think people should be arrested for that. But the reality of it is, this is a national crisis. It's a health crisis, and I'm quite sure the health department. I'm meeting with the director of health this afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot to be handled. I was driving in this morning, stopped to get my dry cleaning, some other things coming over, and I was just counting. There were more people without a mask than with a mask this morning, even after all the publicity about it. So, my hope is that people wise up, and I hope it's not your family that gets sick that has to deal with it. But these are real numbers. We're not talking about some made-up propaganda. These are medical decisions and medical information. So I think we should all be. There's a person I follow nationally. He's a doctor. You see him on a lot of national shows, and he's not politically aligned. He's not, as far as I can tell, and I really trust what he says. And I don't like it, but I trust it. And I read some stuff over the weekend that just kind of put it in perspective. He said, if we don't get this thing under control now, very soon, kids aren't going to school. If they don't go to school, then people can't go to work. And if everyone would just say it's going to be 6 months of stuff we don't like, and he didn't give you a date. He was just saying we've got to get this thing, the vaccine and so forth would be around by then. In between now and the vaccine getting here, sure, wearing a mask is horrible. I hate it. It's hot. I don't want to do it either. It's the right thing to do. So my kids can go to school, so your kids can go to school, so I can run an organization where staff and moms and dads can come to work because their kids are in school. If that means wearing a mask, wear a mask. 6 months from now, maybe we can watch, the ball drop in New Year's because there's a vaccine and we can live normally. But to fight it now, what they're asking us to do is only going to prolong the problem, and quite frankly, probably change how we live more dramatically. And
yeah, I just want this thing to go away.
Right.
And as much as I don't like wearing these either, and I'm not totally convinced how much good it's going to do one way or the other, I'm going to wear it. That's what they're saying. It's not hurting me none. And I understand if it is someone who has issues where they can't wear it, it's a different ball game. So I'm not going to judge you on that. But I just want this to go away. And whatever gets it out of here faster, I'm all for it. That's it, because I'm frankly sick of it, and I know everyone else out there is sick of it as well. Right. Hey, we have an interesting question here from Terry Jones. Not interesting, but a good one. She or he is wondering if there's any chance that the program volunteers that do work in the jail might, in your mind, come back before the end of the year. Is it just on hold, and you're going to go wait and see?
Well, that's a great question. This is so heartbreaking to me because these are folks who give up their time to come and do an invaluable service to people who are incarcerated, and very meaningful and helpful for us in managing the population. We were very close to opening all that right back up. I was saying earlier that I felt like we were making a lot of progress where our organization was a little bit more traditional or normal. But quite frankly, everything is locked down. The whole entire South Campus where the population lives, all of those individuals are locked down, not just from volunteers, but visitors and programs and so forth. I do foresee the day where we can get our hands or get in better control of what's going on, where we would loosen that back up and have volunteers,
sure,
especially in the faith-based community and so forth. But right now, that is so hard to know when and where. It's a fluid situation, and if I don't have the name, but if it was Terry, I would just ask you stay involved on the website with us. Call if you need to. We will happily explain where we are with the process and trying to get our hands around it and get you back in the facility. So thank you for your help.
I hope they stay on it. And it's interesting, and you probably can tell when you came into the station here just how empty the back lot is and everything. We don't have interns right now, okay? Internships can't come in. Anyone non-essentials not allowed in the building except for an occasional guest like this where we social distance in the morning, and it's just the way it is. It's not just here, it's not just you, it's most places right now have really limited access, which makes sense. Try to keep everyone safe. Let's take a call from Jack. Jack, good morning. Hi, Jack.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Sheriff, I had a question. I know that, June 1st, the evictions started back or whatever. But my concern is, like, I work at a job to where they hired us back and then turn around and let us go because they said that, they could only hire back at a certain percentage. So you're thinking, or if you do get your job back, you only get a certain amount of hours. I know that they're protecting people who live in, like, government housing still, but in the reality of it is people are still struggling over here trying to communicate with some of these landlords, and they act like the world just changed on June 1st. They went from being merciful to right back to give me my money or I'm putting you out, and I just don't think that that's right.
Okay, how about that? We're up near the end here, but I know your job and your deputy's job sometimes are evictions. And you said early on when this all started that you're not evicting anyone. Now, things are slowly changing. Maybe we're taking a step back now. How is that with your department now?
First of all, I want to say this to Jack. Call the sheriff's office. We're begging people to come to work, and I don't mean in the jails only. We have all sorts of different work, 1,000 employees doing all sorts of things. We need good people to come to work. I've been telling our HR director this in the last several weeks. Anyone who's losing their job, we need to reach out to and try to see if they want to come to work. We have a lot of things you could do to help us. So reach out to the sheriff's office. Call us 862-8170, and love to see if we can work something out for you, Jack, as it relates to work. On the eviction situation, I think we were the first place in the country, I believe, long before we were ordered to do that, to shut down evictions. We shut those down when the tornado hit, and then we left them shut down all through the COVID experience until June the 1st. We made a decision, and just so everyone understands, how that happens is a landlord goes to the courts then order an individual to be evicted. We are the arm of the courts, and so we take that information, we go out and serve you notice of what the court wants you to do. We don't evict people from the sheriff's office. We're doing what the court has directed us to do. But I was in a position to say we're not going to serve those papers anymore, given the climate we were in and everything that was going on. We tried to start doing that again in June. The reason for that is a lot of those are backlogged, and there were going to be court dates and so forth that would make the individual responsible if we didn't get out and serve some of those. So we're kind of at the discretion of what the courts are going to do. If they're going to allow some more evictions to be, then we would actually go serve those. My position is, my hope is that given the second, what I would call wave, I don't think that's an official term, but I think the second push of what's going on with COVID, we're all going to have to be, this won't matter to Jack, but yesterday I was on the phone with our chief deputy saying I want all the warrant officers, that's who serves evictions, and the folks who do the work that Joe was bragging about earlier, to be assigned back to the jails because our staffing, because of these positives, are going to be dramatically impacted. So there's a chance that we won't even have the staff to go serve some of that once these numbers keep trickling up. But Jack, I'd keep your ears and eyes open. There's a lot going on, I know, in the world of evictions. And again, like I said a minute ago, from a work standpoint, if you're looking for work, come see us. We need some good people.
Real quick, we just have about 2 minutes left, but Pat's there. Pat, did you have a quick question, Pat?
Yes, I was wondering what the status is of Mr. Freeman. Is he still being held?
Sure. And we touched on that earlier. Alex Freeman, he's the one in the high-profile case where, and boy, I've never seen the sheriff this angry. But I mean, he was caught sneaking into the jail as it was being built and planting weapons and other items for gosh knows what. We'll learn the whole story eventually. But Sheriff, as you said earlier, he's locked up right now at Riverbend Maximum Security Prison, facing both local and federal charges, correct?
Local and federal charges with the pandemic and all the stuff going on. Some of those court dates have been kicked around, delayed. I can, just for my own sake and the agency's sake, we're watching that obviously, and we'll be involved, and I'll be in the courtroom as many times as I can, and I'm hopeful that justice will be served swiftly. That's my goal.
And are you still of the belief, and I'm sure there's details you can't share with me now, but it's been hard to believe up to this point anyway, some of the stuff he's been accused of doing. There's more to come?
Yeah, I mean, the federal documents released kind of unveiled some stuff that no one knew up to that point. Of course, we were familiar with it. One of the things that I'm adamant about is just because we caught him doesn't mean what he was going to do wasn't intent and wasn't going to happen. There was going to be massive, I believe, loss of life, and I believe massive escapes, which would have put everyone else's life at risk. And I've been here a long time, not sensationalizing. I didn't dream this thing up. This isn't some person who was addicted and was trying to break in your house to get drugs. It wasn't some mentally ill person who doesn't understand what the law is. It's evil, and evil needs to be dealt with.
Gotcha. Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall, thank you. You deal with evil every day, don't you? And let's deal with it. And thank you for coming on and answering questions both on Facebook and from our callers. We'll see you again in about a month, maybe?
Sounds great.
Sounds good. Thanks again for coming in. We'll take a break. I'll be back with a programming note right after this.